Hi, I'm Haley. I was born in America, but my parents kept looking for a place to call home, and we moved all the time. Unfortunately, I wasn't good at making friends and never fit in at new schools. For some reason, my peers did not get me. I was a little weird and the other kids shunned me. Maybe it was because I dyed my hair bright colors and loved mysteries. One day, we moved yet again, and I firmly decided the girl sitting next to me would be my new best friend. How was I going to achieve that? Well, usually people introduced themselves and struck up a conversation about their hobbies, but I had a better idea. I put a paper boat on my classmate's chair and hid under her desk. Who left this here? She picked up the boat and looked around, confused. I jumped out from under her desk, laughing like the crazy clown Pennywise. We're flying down here! You'll fly too! For some reason, my classmate didn't appreciate the joke. Are you nuts? It's from the It movie. Let's be friends. No, you psycho! Don't talk to me! See, I told you no one got me. Oh, whatever. I already had a best friend, and by that, I mean music. I put on headphones and listened to my favorite Maroon 5 songs all day without trying to get to know anyone. When I came back home and saw how sad my parents looked, I realized their first day in the new place hadn't been the stuff of their dreams either. Dad had met his new boss. That scumbag yelled at me and demanded I work overtime even though he was just twiddling his thumbs. Meanwhile, Mom got off on the wrong foot with our new neighbors. They were so rude to me. I invited them to a barbecue, but they said they'd rather visit Frankenstein than our place. It was my turn to complain next. I told them I hadn't been given a warm welcome at the new school either. It wasn't the perfect home we dreamed of. We were thinking of moving again when we got unexpected news. It says my Uncle Kim from South Korea has passed away. Oh, this is so sad. My dad had moved to America from South Korea when he was a kid. He still had a lot of relatives there. Even though I barely remembered Uncle Kim, that news upset me. To my surprise, Dad smiled and started jumping for joy. It turned out Uncle Kim had left us his mansion in Seoul. OMG! This is awesome! Our perfect life will begin there! We immediately packed up and headed to the airport. It wasn't like we were attached to anything in that city. So, we're coming! Please like this video and subscribe to the channel while we're on our way there. I really liked Korea. I mean, duh. Everything was so beautiful there. You should have seen the boys. I was all but drooling. All the signs were in Korean, and my dad was the only one in our family who knew that language. I was worried I would have a hard time at my new school and even thought that moving to a foreign country hadn't been the best idea. All my doubts faded away as soon as Uncle Kim's lawyer showed us our new mansion. It was gorgeous! There was a swimming pool, a garden, and beautiful antique statues there. It looked like the kind of house a superstar would live in. Besides, Uncle Kim's lawyer said Dad also inherited a ton of money. However, there is a condition. You must live here for 6 months. Only then will you come into the fortune. My parents were beaming and didn't seem worried. However, I had read a lot of mystical stories, and it all seemed suspicious to me. Was there something wrong with the mansion? At dinner, Dad said he found a new job and would be going to the office the next morning. Mom said she was going to meet our neighbors. Meanwhile, I was getting ready to be the new girl again. That night, I lay in bed, listened to music, and hoped my new classmates would speak at least a little English. Before I knew it, I fell asleep. But soon, I was woken up by the creepy sound of a woman crying. I knew this would happen. I knew this would happen. My stomach was in knot, but I was also dying of curiosity. I went out into the hallway and headed toward the sound. It was coming from the Great Hall, but all I could see in the semi-darkness when I got there were 4 sculptures of women. Hey, is anyone here? It must have been the howling of the wind. I've been reading too many mystery stories. Ladies, sorry for bothering you. I looked around the room once more and then went back to my room and passed out. The next morning, I didn't think about it at all. However, when I was passing by those sculptures in the hall, I froze. Ladies, why are there only 3 of you? Had one sculpture disappeared overnight? I decided it had all been a dream and went outside. Dad gave me a ride to my new school. I was in for a disappointment. All the signs were in Korean. I didn't know how to find the classroom I needed, so I decided to ask one of the students for help. A handsome guy was walking toward me. He seemed to be in a hurry and was frowning, but I stopped him anyway. I only knew a couple of phrases in Korean, so explaining what I needed wasn't easy. That guy just stared at me, confused. I lost my patience and finally cursed in English. Dang it! This freaking language makes no sense. It's all gibberish. That guy frowned and walked past me without a word. I wandered through the hallways for a long time until I came across a math teacher. Luckily, he knew English and led me to the right classroom. Haley, we offer extra Korean classes to international students. You should come. In the meantime, you can use a translator on your phone. He showed me a special app for that and left. I finally walked into the classroom. My new classmates were crowding around one desk and discussing something. They seemed anxious. I didn't understand a word they were saying, but recognized the guy I'd seen in the hallway. Everyone seemed to be calling him Tae Min, a beautiful name for a handsome guy. reply. As soon as the other students saw me, silence fell over the classroom. I smiled at them warmly and waved my hand. Hi, I'm Haley, your new classmate. Why do I bother? It's not like they understand a word I'm saying. Taemin and the others threw icy glances at me and then pointedly turned away and kept talking. Please kill me now. A new country, a new school, and the same old story. My classmates did not like me. It was a terrible day and I couldn't wait for it to end. The translator only helped me understand some of the teacher's words, and I struggled lesson after lesson. It was terribly lonely. I decided to take the extra classes to improve my Korean. It only took a few minutes for me to realize that learning languages was absolutely not my thing. All those rules and letters were way too complicated for me. Ugh, my brain hurts. I honestly gave it a try, but giving up was so much easier. I had the translator, so it wasn't like I really needed to learn the language, you know? I left the classroom and headed home, feeling gloomy. I wasn't the only one who had a terrible day. Dad was lying on the couch and complaining about his new boss as usual. He looked exhausted. This boss is even worse than the last one. I'm so tired after today. Mom sighed and said she hadn't had much luck befriending the neighbors. The other housewives said they didn't want anything to do with me. Why don't they like me? What did I do? We all sighed heavily and thought the same thing. Staying here for 6 months to get the inheritance wasn't going to be easy. At night, I was awoken by the strange noise again. It was coming from the garden. Someone seemed to be wandering through it and singing a sad song. Who could it be? I looked out the window and saw a female silhouette that quickly slipped through the trees. That's it. The mansion's haunted for sure. It makes sense. That's why Uncle Kim added such a strange condition to his will. A normal person would have been scared out of their mind, but I was on cloud 9 because I loved mysteries. I wanted to find out more about that ghost. However, first, I had to get through another terrible day at school. I kept getting into awkward situations because of the language barrier. I would come to the wrong classroom and call the teacher by the wrong name. I even bought soap from a vending machine instead of a chocolate bar by accident. Still, nothing was worse than what happened after gym class. I left my phone in the locker room, wrapped myself in a towel, and went to the showers. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring my phone with me. As a result, I read the signs wrong and walked through the wrong door. Oops, this is the men's showers. It was a disaster. All the boys started joking and giggling, but when Taemin saw me, he went berserk. I didn't know what he was saying, but it sounded very threatening. I turned red as a tomato and ran out of there like a bat out of hell. My heart fell when I realized my classmates would dislike me even more after that. I went to the school library after classes and researched local legends about ghosts using the translator. Wow, Korean mythology was wild. I got immersed in the books and actually managed to memorize a few phrases by the evening. Wow, if I keep practicing, I'll learn Korean in no time. When I was leaving school, I noticed my classmates. They were discussing something and seemed worried again. I decided to demonstrate my new knowledge and tried to talk to them in Korean. I don't know why you seem to dislike me so much, but I hope one day we'll be friends. Of course, I still had to work on my pronunciation, but Taemin and the other kids understood what I was saying and even smiled at me. I went home in a great mood. To my shock, I saw Mom trampling over the neighbors' flower beds and cursing at them when I arrived. I don't care what you think. I don't like these flowers. They ruin the view of the whole neighborhood. From now on, you should all grow red roses. Mom, what are you doing? I'm just setting new rules. Go, Haley, I'm busy. Had Mom always been so petty? I shrugged and went inside the house. Dad was lying on the couch watching the TV. Dad, aren't you supposed to be in a meeting? I am, but I decided to skip work today. And tomorrow too. It's too hard and my boss is too demanding. Weirdly enough, that was the first time I realized Dad was lazy. At dinner, my parents kept complaining about everything and everyone they encountered that day. At some point, I got tired of that empty chatter, locked myself in my room, and read about the history of our neighborhood using the translator. Soon enough, I found an article about a local girl called Jisoo. She had gone missing not that long ago. Now this is interesting. Could she be connected to that ghost that haunts our mansion? I was very interested in that mysterious story. So the next day at school, I decided to keep investigating. I turned on my favorite Maroon 5 song at recess and reopened the article about Jisoo's disappearance. Taemin, who was sitting nearby, suddenly started humming the words of the song. His English was perfect. I almost dropped my phone in surprise. You have great taste, Haley. I'm a fan of Maroon 5 too. You speak English? Just like everyone else in our class. We've been learning it since elementary school. Why have you been acting like you don't understand me this whole time? Don't you remember our first meeting in the hallway? Yeah, I lost my temper and said Korean was gibberish. Exactly. You disrespected our culture and didn't even try to learn Korean. That was offensive. I asked everyone in our class to ignore you. Then nerve of him! At first I wanted to slap the living daylights out of him, but that quickly passed when I realized I had been terribly rude. I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me. I'm just tired of feeling like an outsider no matter where I go. It's fine, it's all in the past. He looked like he wanted to say something else, but then he noticed the article about the missing girl I was reading and turned gloomy. It turned out Jisoo had been his classmate. Everyone was worried out of their minds because she was missing. That's what everyone had been discussing. I told him I had seen the ghost of a crying girl in my house the night before. Do you think it's all connected somehow? Let's find out. Taemin said he would help me research the mansion and solve that mystery. We agreed that he would come over as soon as it got dark. I fell asleep while waiting for Taemin in my room. He appeared behind my window like some sort of ninja, and my soul almost left my body. Hey, wake up! We had plans. Taemin? Ever heard of knocking on the door? Well, my entrance was much more impressive, right? I let him in and we started searching the house. We didn't find anything interesting downstairs and eventually went up to the attic. Well, where's your crying ghost? My gut's telling me to keep searching here. With a sinking heart, I opened an old closet. Instead of a ghost, we found an envelope inside. There were words written on it. Watch me. We found a flash drive inside and went down to my room to use the laptop. When the video on the flash drive started to play, we saw Uncle Kim. He had apparently recorded it for my dad. Dear nephew, I know your family has a problem. You move around a lot and can't find the perfect place to settle down in. You blame everyone but yourselves. However, the other people aren't the problem. You are. You're too lazy, and that is the reason you can't for the life of you keep a job. Your wife starts trouble no matter where you go. That's why your neighbors always hate you. I figured out a way to make you stay put for 6 months. I hope this will help you see what you've been doing wrong. Good luck. OMG. Uncle Kim was right. I used to blame my classmates and think I was misunderstood, but I was the one in the wrong. So Uncle Kim's will had nothing to do with the ghost haunting our mansion, huh? As soon as I saw that, we heard someone crying in the hallway. Taemin and I ran toward the sound and saw Jisoo. She was crying like a baby. So you're not a ghost? What are you doing here? The girl realized she had been caught and told us everything. I had a huge fight with my parents and ran away from home. This mansion was empty, so I hid here. And then a family moved in here, and I had to hide. I couldn't leave. I had nowhere to go. What the heck? And why are you crying? Because I want to go home, and I'm afraid my parents are still mad at me. I was speechless. Taemin tried to comfort our classmate. He told her everyone was worried out of their minds and had been looking for her. It took some time, but he convinced her to go back home and return to school. Come on, I'll walk you home. I closed the door behind them and breathed a sigh of relief. Phew, now that whole thing had been dealt with, I could get on with my life. The next morning at school, the first thing I did was sign up for Korean classes again. Even though now I knew my classmates spoke English, I wanted to learn the new language anyway. I used to be afraid of difficulties and gave up all too quickly, but I wasn't going to let that happen again. I was in for an unpleasant surprise when I got home. Mom and Dad were packing up. They said they had found a great house for us in Scotland. Our life there will be perfect. Wait, what about Uncle Kim's inheritance? Aren't we supposed to stay here for 6 months? We don't need this mansion and his money. It's not that great here anyway. Our neighbors are rude and your father has problems at work. For once, I disagreed with my parents. I showed them Uncle Kim's video and tried to convince them we were the reason we couldn't find a place to call home. We can keep moving forever, but nothing will change until we change ourselves. I like it here and I want to stay. My words didn't impress my parents. They let me stay in Korea for 6 months and left for Scotland. I didn't feel sad. Instead, I kept learning Korean and reading about the country's culture. Taemin and Jisoo became my close friends. For the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged. A few months after that, Uncle Kim's lawyer contacted me to say that since I had fulfilled my uncle's wish, his mansion and fortune were now mine. I was grateful to my uncle for the valuable lesson he taught me. Of course, the mansion and the money didn't hurt too. Guess what happened next? That's right. Mom and Dad came back and bombarded me with complaints. My boss in Scotland fired me for skipping work. Our neighbors found a reason to hate me again. I guess you were right. Haley, maybe we're the problem after all. My parents finally decided to follow my example and change. Do you think they can do it? Tell me in the comments down below, and don't forget to hit that like button.